Hello and welcome to UU Wellspring's Love at the Center, UU Values and Covenants. This is an overview of this program for anyone who might be interested in bringing it to your congregation, wondering how it is similar and different from other UU Wellspring programs such as Sources, or perhaps you're thinking about taking it online with a UU Wellspring facilitator. This program is for all of you. My name is Linnea Nelson, and I am the Executive Director of UU Wellspring. I'm delighted to be sharing with you this core foundational program for spiritual deepening. It is going to be presented in small groups, and in your congregation, you might look for around 10 people and someone to facilitate. Often, people have two facilitators, but sometimes one person does it. It is 13 sessions long, and for those of you familiar with UU Wellspring, you'll know that our year-long programs tend to be a little bit longer, and that our UU Wellspring Reads programs are a little bit shorter. So I hope that this one fits into your congregational life very nicely. You can begin a UU Wellspring program with either Love at the Center, this program, or with our program called Sources, which has been in the UU Wellspring programming since its inception back in around 2005. In this program, as in many of our UU Wellspring programs, it is an in-depth exploration of our shared faith. And we will be doing this by looking carefully and exploring our values and covenant statements that are our aspirational hopes for how we want to live our lives. We will be looking carefully at our personal identities, and we will be engaging in experiences that help us explore how we are in relationship to one another in diverse communities, as well as our relationship with the whole world. Love at the Center has 5 different areas that we are going to be exploring these values. We will begin and end in love, since love is a central value of Unitarian Universalism. We'll begin with a few sessions that we call grounding in love, and we'll end with transforming in love. And in the middle, we will be looking at centering in community, acting in faith, and nurturing growth. Grounding in love is focused on 4 sessions that first center in love and basically give you an overview of the program and our way of formatting the sessions, which we are calling cares. And I'll give you more information on that in a few moments. Creating bonds is about creating our covenant. And that is a very important part of our faith. We are a covenantal faith. In sessions 3 and 4, we're going to really delve into love, looking at how love is powerful and how we can live into this shared value. When we look at the centering and community section, you'll find 2 sessions, and we are pairing interdependence and pluralism to look at them together, and we're calling that reverence for all. You'll notice session 6 is now going to focus on the covenant statements that go along with the values, interdependence and pluralism. And we're calling this embracing the other. Once again, living into our shared values. You'll see this pattern of values and covenant statements paired throughout the whole program. The next session is called Acting in Faith. And we have 4 sessions in this area because we know how important it is to us to live out our values. We're going to start by pairing justice and generosity, and then we'll move to pairing peace and reason. We move to nurturing growth by looking at how we value equity and transformation. And finally, we transform in love. So we return to love with a celebration and reflection. So that's basically the arc of the year, or about 6.5 months. So if you start in perhaps October, You will easily finish in May. And you can start any time of the year, especially with only 13 sessions. You have a little flexibility. You might start in September, you might start in October, you might even start in January and move through the rest of the year. Each session has a participant email that the facilitator sends out to you. In that email, you will get all of the information that you need for your session. UU Wellspring provides this email, so it's easy for the facilitator to put it together and send it out. The value or covenant that is under consideration in the session will be fully explored and shared with you in this email. And then there will be resources that we have carefully curated that will help you delve into the value or the covenant statement. Then we provide reflection questions, and those of you who are familiar with UU Wellspring will say, this sounds very familiar. And these reflection questions both are general as well as very specific. We give both kinds of questions to give you a deep understanding of these values and how they reflect your spiritual life. One of the things you'll see more of in this program than other UU Wellspring programs are experiences and storytelling. And both of these will show up in the covenant sections. And you'll see some optional, occasionally we'll be talking about how our UU history is related to our values and how our spiritual practices are a way that we can live into our values. And at times you'll find optional resources because when you finish a session, so often people are ready to delve deeper into the value, the content, the spiritual understandings. And so we want to provide some additional resources if you'd like to do that. I mentioned there are two different kinds of sessions in this program. And the first one are value sessions. And we are going to be asking personal reflection questions, and we're going to reflect on Unitarian Universalism. Like, how does this value show up in your life? How does it show up in Unitarian Universalist communities? Now, we will also be asking, what might you do or believe or change based on your reflections? And this is a question that we used to reserve only for the end of UU Wellspring, and we called it So What, or What's Next. And we decided that we're going to embed it in the value session reflection questions. So that's where you will find the what next, how are you going to use the information, the experience that you've had in UU Wellspring to transform your own life. And sometimes you'll find some history questions in the value sessions as well. In the covenant sessions, you're going to find an embodied exploration of our faith. And there will still be resources and reflection questions, but here's where we really focus on experiences. And these experiences are often going to be about expanding our capacity and strategies for systemic change. They're going to help us have a shift in our culture. And then our storytelling really gets us to look deeply at what the experiences in our own lives that we want to share with one another might help build and grow our own community by knowing one another better. And when we tell our own stories, we get to know ourselves better as well. And of course, spiritual practices will always be a part of UU Wellspring, and we will explore them in our covenant sessions. Now, I mentioned the CARES acronym, and this is going to be how each session is laid out. C is for community, and this will sound very familiar to you, UU Wellspring participants and facilitators from the past. There will be an opening reading, music, meditation, or even silence to ground everyone. And then we check in once we are feeling grounded and a part of the group. The check-in in Love at the Center is going to be a little different, though, because it will be a more specific prompt or question that is tied to the value or the covenants of that particular session. Then we move to the A in CARES, agreements. This is our covenant. This is how we are agreeing to be with one another. And there's some wisdom around being together a little bit before you start to create your covenant. So we will create the covenant in the second session. Our goal will be inclusivity of one another, but also inclusive of our own needs. So we'll be doing some work on our own identity and needs before we get to the covenant, so that when we get there, we have a sense of building a covenant that is unique and special for this particular group. The reflection section is the area where we will respond to questions in our journals before we come to the session. And then hopefully these questions will be moving us from our head to our heart to our soul. And we will be practicing deep listening, which we'll learn how to do together. We'll even honor silence. We find that having somewhat slow moving sessions allows everyone to speak from the heart, from the soul, and gives everyone time to really take in what one another is saying. The E stands for experiences, and sometimes these experiences will be in the pre-session email that I spoke about, and they'll ask you to do something prior to the coming together in a session, some kind of brief experience, and then to reflect on it in writing before the session. Sometimes the experiences will be in session, and we will do them together and reflect on them together. These experiences are meant to incorporate a broad range of senses so that we are really embodying the experiences. Storytelling is also so important to our faith. We are hoping to give you prompts that really give you an opportunity to respond with meaningful and sometimes aspirational stories. And these stories are not going to be long stories, but more anecdotes, little bits that as the year unfolds, we'll get to know one another in a different way. And sometimes when we tell our stories, we really share the essence of what was important from the story more than a long, involved story. So we want you to think about the stories in advance, and we'll give you the prompts in advance so that you can get to the essence that you then share with the group. Affirmations are another important part of UU Wellspring. At the end of each session, we share our gratitudes and our affirmation for one another and the experience itself. We close with some words. They might be the same words every time, and it might be different ones depending upon what your group is called to do. There are 3 books that we're very excited to be presenting to you, and each participant and the facilitators do need a copy of the book. They are all available at the UU InSpirit bookstore, also online retailers, and they're also ebooks. And Sacred Nature is often available in libraries as well. We love to get your feedback. So if you engage in the program, we'd love to hear how it's going. If you have questions before you get started, you can send me an email at director@uuwellspring.org at any time. But you can also come to one of our congregational information sessions, and that is on the second Tuesday of every month. So just go to our website at uuwellspring.org and sign up for one of our informational sessions. And if you are going to enroll in the program, there are links there to enroll both as an individual with one of our UU Wellspring led programs, or to enroll your congregation. And you can lead it right in your congregation, whether or not you've ever had experience in a UU Wellspring program before or not. One of the things that we offer to enrolled congregations is a facilitator preview and training. And this will allow each facilitator to understand the program fully and also to have experience with some of the parts of the program before you need to bring it to your entire cohort. So thank you so much for listening, and please send me any questions you have or join us for an informational session. If you're ready to sign up, just enroll on our website, and that will get you to passwords and more information about how to access the program. We're very excited to be presenting this program. You can begin in October of 2024 or anytime after that, but we encourage you to sign up early so that you can get the password and start looking at the program and getting familiar with it. Welcome to UU Wellspring.